Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. The first sort of TV show where you could shoot at the chest plate of the bad guys. I think good guys too, I can't remember. Did Lackey have one? They had sort of a badge and you had got a gun at home that you could aim at the screen, and if you hit it, it would give you a score.
Yeah, it was like a spaceship. Yeah. And then when this TV screen shot back at you, the guy in the spaceship popped out.
Anyways, I can't quite remember all those details, but I remember it being the exotic thing. I never played it, and I thought it was stupid. But
well, it was the very first game where you shot at the TV.
Yeah, interactive, interactive.
Yeah, and it cost Mattel a huge amount of money.
$2 million an episode, I think.
Yeah.
At least that's what I remember.
Which is weird because it was a kid's show.
It was a half-hour show.
Yeah.
We did it on the west end of town. There was an old studio that's now a long time gone. But I was asked by a producer to come in and bid on making Lackey first, and then I also bid on making the Dreadmobile, which is this one here.
Yeah.
And they wanted it on something slow, so it was built on Airport Mule, as they call it, which is a tractor basically to pull things around. And had a rotating turret, gull wing doors, operating guns at the front which could move pan tilt. Also made his arm and his face piece. There was a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in that photo, the color photo there. So
Lord Dread.
Yeah, I took it on as a contract. I sort of bluffed my way in a little bit because I hadn't done something big like this on my own.
Mm-hmm.
But it was amazing. It was a huge, at that time they still made a lot of models. We had huge sets of desert scenes, delicately made.
And Lackey's, his
the base piece was a wheelchair base, which we transformed. All the castings you see is I went to motorcycle places that had motorcycle frames and bits and pieces from crash bikes, and I would buy them and see if I could incorporate them. Yeah, those are all motorcycle struts. All these pieces, all the sides, the arms, all came more from the motorcycle business.
You know, this is one of the very...
You had to find stuff. They couldn't make stuff like that in those days.
C-3PO and RZ been made probably about 10 years before this.
Yeah.
But this is still one...
5.
Yeah.
I was on set when they filmed it here.
But nobody had really done this for TV, had they?
No.
So that's why this is an amazing thing, because...
And a limited amount of money.
Yeah.
And I was in
But that was expensive, though, wasn't it? I mean, there's a lot of work in this.
Yes, but... I was paid $2,000 a week plus materials.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot.
No.
But it was for the 80s, it was a lot. And then I had to get someone to do the eyes. The eyes had squares that walked into a point, like a pupil, out for expression. We were trying to give them expression. And then there would be rotating eyes in out. I remember it was, for that time, quite complicated electronics on it.
Yeah. No, it's really cool.
And I loved the challenge. Again, the mechanical parts were easier for me because I'd made mechanical arms before. The hand itself on Lord Dread here was made leather. And again, it was all cable operated, which was easier to do cable operated than any other way because we also didn't have the refinement.
But was this a replacement for the arm that was made in the first few episodes, though? Because he'd already been made as a character, hadn't he?
Yeah, he had another arm, and I also made the helmet, the black helmet with some stripe down the middle and stuff like that.
But is that because the one that had already been used on the show didn't work out right, or I can't quite remember.
I can't remember either at that time why this was.
Do you know what I think it was? I think originally he was half human parts of him, and then they made him more robotic. That might have been why.
That's right, because he also hatched Lackey, the robot.
Yeah. Yeah, because they took his humanity away from him. Yeah.
That's what it was. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. No, I was just reading a lot about it. He was like, I don't I don't want to be. And the computer who talks to him was like, yeah, we're going to take away your humanity.
Yes, like the overlord. The
Overlord, that's it, yeah. See, it's weird, isn't it? This is a show that hardly anybody remembers, but we remember quite a lot.
And I was impressed at that time, the skills of making miniatures. It taught me a lot for the film industry.
Mm-hmm. And they all
Probably
made that
it's
here.
not done today, but acres of miniature sets.
Yeah.
Sculpted sand dunes. The opening sequence where all these blasting flames are. They're flying over this futuristic landscape.
Yeah.
That was all a miniature.
Yeah. All of which is
And we also,
gone.
in those days, did a lot more rear screen projection. Where you, like in the 40s movies.
So there's a character in that flies called Pilot, and they put him up on wires, and probably Steve was being like flown around on wires. I still can't believe how like some of the suits in that are fiberglass, and they wanted him to do stunts in fiberglass backpacks and stuff.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
But I made everything in carbon fiber and Kevlar.
Mm-hmm.
Kevlar is a very flexible material for stunts. Yes, in those days we didn't even, spacesuits were soft. They were usually wardrobe kind of things. You didn't have
A lot of vac
like
form.
look at Star Trek. The initial stuff was all spandex and layering and that kind of thing. But here it got me. I like the robotics aspect of it, and quite fun. It was just two of us working on these things, myself and Sean. Figuring we had to do a lot of stuff on our own very fast in a dusty corner of the studio. I still remember the sort of alcove that they parked us in. Bought my first good table saw, which we still use today, 30 years later. Good general table saw. It cost a lot in 1985, but
this is
lasted 30 years.
A great example of how close the original is to the original art.
Mm-hmm. I worked hard.
Yeah, you really nailed that.
Because I had to make it real. And he was slow moving, and he was supposed to be a bit of a dunce, a smart dunce kind of thing.
I'd forgotten that his name is Lackey. That's the perfect name. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just
And
great.
this one, you would often see a bunch of soldiers walking in front, soldiers in the back, like that typical tank, and you'd have artillery around it.
I thought they only made like 5 soldiers because I often watch scenes where you'd only see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then later on I saw this amazing tracking shot with like 25 soldiers, and I mean that's like you know they're not running on the back and then running it on. No, they are literally 25 of them. So it was even more surprising when Steve was like, yeah, it's probably the only soldier left. There's one soldier left.
Yeah, I had a call, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, something like that. Somebody called asking about, was I the one that was involved with doing this? And there was some group of people, and I said at the time, I had his head somewhere, but I hadn't found it. It was on a shelf somewhere downstairs on another area. I didn't know where it was. I knew I had kept it. And they were sort of interested, and we talked about it, and some of the people we were talking about, they were on the set or related to people who worked on the set.
Yeah.
So there's somebody who remembers it.
Yeah.
But it was, everything is an experience for me. It's a next step up, going on to the next phase, learning this. I didn't know anything about movies. In the 60s, I would watch Star Trek. And I never imagined one day I'd be on set, and even if William Shatner, Captain Kirk, is now yelling at me about something, I'm so honored. Yeah, I was in the 60s waiting for the next week's episode to come.